Hello and welcome to episode 180 of Checkpoint Chat. I'm trusting Matthew here because I haven't actually double checked that. Yeah, it's 180. Now just double check.
Wow.
My name's Alessandro Barbosa. Yeah, I have to double check. I can't just trust you on blind faith. That only happens on episode 2.
I mean, you get it wrong all the time.
I don't think there's.
Where would you be
any
without me to? We've got 180 episodes. You can go watch the intros of all of them, and 179 of them will go, "Hello, welcome to episode." I'm like 175 of Checkpoint Chat.
I'll see you in court, Matthew.
Yeah, wow.
Better bring lawyers. You're fighting for the future of this podcast.
Oh my goodness, what are we fighting for? Like this little baby podcast.
This episode 180.
You can keep it on weekends. I'll keep it on weekdays. You know.
Oh, that's fine. I only need to listen to it once, so I don't need to listen to it 5 days a week. You know.
Sure. you think you love your child. You think your partner loves your children, and this is what you found out.
All these secrets.
I'm sorry, podcasts.
My name's Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined always Matthew Figuera.
I mean, yeah. what more can I say?
You were just on the phone with your lawyer.
Would you just throw this partnership out the window? Like, I don't even need this. Okay. How does one respond to that?
Thought you knew a person.
Oh, good Lord. But yeah, happy long weekend.
Yeah, happy long weekend. It's a lovely Saturday. It's actually beautiful weather for once, as opposed to the like dire weather that was during the week, I guess.
We are in autumn 100%.
Oh, hell yeah.
And there's always, I don't get mad, but I get mad because there's always like a switch that flips of it's warm. Then you have one day of rain and then it's autumn. It's done.
Yeah. You're just like, nope, now it's cold.
And also weird enough, the days instantly get shorter. It's like, oh, the sun's going down at 7. It's still bright. Now if you look 6:45, it's like pitch black already. I'm like, how does this happen in the space of a week or two?
It's impossible. How?
It just defies physics. Einstein didn't even predict this. What's going on?
But I was seeing like the leaves getting red and yellow and whatever like a month ago already. I would go on runs and look at the trees and I was like, what is going on? It cannot be autumn. And it's like scorching hot as well. So it's like, I don't understand what these trees are on. Clearly they're getting enough water.
It's not it's not autumn because it's cold. They're turning red and yellow because they're just like, we're so thirsty.
This is a desert. Help. I actually learned, I was at a quiz night during the week at Tiger's Milk. First time I went there. Pretty good food. Not bad.
Which Tiger's Milk did you go to?
Bryanston.
Oh, I know that is, yeah.
It's pretty good. And one of the questions was, what is the name of a tree that yellows and reds during autumn? And I was like, I don't know. Apparently it's a deciduous tree.
That is a big word. Deciduous.
I think it's deciduous, unless I'm saying it wrong.
Disingenuous.
Disingenuous trees. They're not evergreens. We wrote down nevergreens. We thought we were clever.
Oh, wow. That is... How did they not give you the points? Forget deciduous. Make it nevergreen.
Quiz nuts are so much fun. I love them. Like,
my goodness.
They just chilled out. I mean,
some
people are real tryhards at quiz nuts, and boy, the winning team only got like 4 questions wrong. It was ridiculous. But other than that,
stop being so good.
Yeah, how dare you have all this general knowledge?
Yeah, good Lord. Yeah, I haven't been to a quiz night in at least 45 years, but they are good fun. It's amazing because the first round, well, at least in my experience, the first round is relatively straightforward, like maybe 1 or 2 curveballs, and then it just gets progressively more impossible. You're like, I know the answer. No, I don't. I don't know. What? I don't know the answer. Oh my God, these questions are so hard.
The first round is always like it throws you because you think you're going to have like a good evening and then it's just not the case. Yeah.
Nope. But then, like you said, the tryhards are out there getting everything right.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones who are there every quiz night. So at some point, they're just like, oh, I've heard this question before.
I've heard this,
Yeah, exactly. So fuck them.
Wow. You walk out, you just like key a car, like
Yeah. How dare you get this all right? You fucking dicks.
Assholes.
My God. I'm looking at the peaks and the troughs of my audio and seeing some strange shit. So I really hope this recording is okay.
I mean, if it's not, it's Monday. It's a public holiday. Just have a good day. If you're listening,
like I'm looking at Discord and it's like my little icon's flickering when I'm not saying anything, and I'm like, that's.
Are you tapping your desk at all?
No.
Does it still flicker?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I don't know, because
I'm not sure what's happening. I hope it's not like some interference in the microphone that is being sent through. But it's fine. That's why I spend time editing. So that'll be fun.
And now you're gonna edit out that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a real fun time. So if there's no podcast on Monday, you would have never heard this conversation. So you wouldn't even know.
You'll just get our apology tweet. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Here's a sample of what the podcast sounded like.
And yeah, well, I suppose we can touch on that quickly. So Alessandro's abandoning us. He's packing bags and leaving me and the podcast baby alone to go on a weekend away.
Just can't deal with it anymore.
So yeah, no, Alessandro's away next weekend. So unfortunately, no. Well, we might do something on the podcast.
You can do a podcast with Lenska if you really want.
Yeah. She gets stage fright. Do you want to do a podcast with me next week? Why? So Alessandra's leaving us.
That's a fair question.
And the show must go on.
The show must go on.
I'll share a mic with Lupin. We can talk about some good stuff. Goodbye. She's leaving.
It'll be like, Lupin,
hopefully not for good.
What's your experience of Elden Ring? And then he's like, I fucking hate it because every time Matty loses to a boss, he chucks me off of his lap.
He gets mad. I don't though. That's my secret. I don't get mad.
You don't get mad? Is that your secret? Mm-hmm. I don't believe you.
Internally, I'm screaming sometimes, but on the outside...
Internally, I'm just like,
inside,
I hate
I'm just
everything.
like, God damn this boss. I hate it so much.
I guess that's a good pivot. It's Checkpoint Chat, talk about video games.
Sometimes.
And we haven't been playing many new video games.
If you listened to last week's episode, I'm sorry to break it to you. This episode's a copy paste because we haven't had the chance to play other stuff. And I'll tell you why. Because the shit we are playing, long games. Okay,
long and also good.
Horizon Forbidden West, good game, very long.
Yeah.
Elden Ring, good game.
Long.
Probably
even longer.
Twice, maybe 3 times, 4 times longer. Gran Turismo 7. It's not like a 5-hour campaign. 7, broken, but still very long. Like I've been playing stuff, but I can't make my way through these games quick enough to get to other things. Look, I'm enjoying the shit out of Elden Ring. I don't really want to finish it. But I really wanted to play Tunic this week. Which, fun fact, on Game Pass. So if you're a Game Pass subscriber. Good indie game.
It was a surprise launch because I remember last week we were like, oh, you mentioned it to me. You're like,
yeah, I
it's
told
not
you
actually launching on Game Pass.
It's like this huge misconception because people think it's shown by Xbox coming to Game Pass. I'm like, it's never been confirmed. So I really want to play.
The developers listen to the podcast. They're like, we've got to make Matthew a liar.
we've got to just prove him wrong. So. Yeah. That if you don't know what Tunic is basically a game inspired very much by Zelda, classic Zeldas, where you play as a fox in a tunic. It looks very good, so expect thoughts on that sometime in the future, but haven't got there yet because games are long.
Is the fox not named Tunic?
I have no idea. Maybe.
Okay.
That'd make sense, I guess.
Yeah. Apparently it's hard. It's like, I didn't realize that it was such like a harken back to NES Zelda, like Zelda 1 type of thing. Yeah. So it's like not hard just in combat, it's hard in like exploration as well. So
yeah. Well, there
sounds
we go.
Like a vibe. It's got really good reviews, like incredibly high scores. So
I think on Metacritic I checked on the day it was like 89, 90, which is real good for a little indie game. But we're not there. So what do you want to start with?
Not there yet.
What do you want to touch on quickly? We're not going to spend too much time talking your ear off because, listen, we can only talk so much about the same games.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm still playing Horizon. It still continues to be, like equal parts good and infuriating. I was just like chatting to you before we started recording about another instance of the platforming just being absolute garbage.
Love it. But what I think is a good sign for the game is that you were not lukewarm, but I think you felt like, I don't know what the right word is. It's almost a thing of you have to play it and finish it because if you start Elden Ring, you're not going to go back. There's almost like not a grudge playthrough, but you know what I mean? It's like, I just want to tick this off.
Yeah, it's like I feel I don't know if it's a thing of like, like when you're eating a meal and you're like, I really am full, but there's only 2 slices of pizza left. I could do this. That's kind of how I feel with Horizon. It's like I've had my fill of it. Like I could stop, but I do kind of want to see the story through. And the story is intriguing. Like the story is actually pretty good.
Turns out game very good. So
yeah. And now that I'm engaging with more of the better side content, put it that way. Like there's a lot of cookie cutter side content, and then there's the good stuff, which is like your companion side quests and stuff like that. That stuff's pretty great. So like I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. So I guess you could say I've refined what I'm playing in a sense, like making sure I'm doing main part stuff and then the good side quests. Yeah. And I'm having a good time. It's still really good. I am surprised at how challenging the game has remained. Like I definitely feel like in Zero Dawn there came a point where Aloy just felt like a god. Like everything was just like falling in front of her. And I think a big part of that was a certain weapon that would, like one arrow would do like all the tear damage you ever needed and knock everything off of an enemy. And they've just removed that arrow. It just does not exist in this game.
The pulse arrow.
It's not the same though.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's there, but it's not as
I distinctly
broken.
remember in the first one, you'd shoot that once and it would just like explode every detachable part off of an enemy, especially like with the upgraded bow.
So that's
not the same.
Hard nerfed it.
Yeah, they super hard nerfed it. So now like actually getting parts from big enemies like Slitherfangs, who are an absolute fucking nightmare to fight because they just move so erratically.
Have you tried shooting that tail off?
Oh my God. It's so hard. I mean, shooting the tail and shooting the sonic hood on top of its head. It's fucking impossible. It's so difficult because the thing doesn't stop moving. So even in concentration, you're like playing catch up with its strange slither movements. It's such a pain. But I fought what's the big bear one?
It's Good like Lord. A something claw.
So you get the frost claw and the fire claw. Yeah, those are. I remember those being challenging in the first one because they were introduced in the DLC. They are much bigger in this game. They are like twice the size. So, and it was really interesting that now, like 40 or 30, 40 hours into the game is the first time I've seen a Watcher, which is basically your standard enemy in the first game. I thought they just straight up replaced them with burrowers. So it was kind of cool to see them back.
Return there,
Yeah, it's good. I think the new machine designs are really, really fun. Like I really like the Velociraptor looking things, the claw striders. They're real fun too. Yeah, they're super fun to
fact,
fight,
you can mount those and ride them. So
that's pretty cool.
Keep that in mind.
I do know there will come a point where I can mount a flying machine because there are 2 quests I have which are like there's like a tall neck. Like fucking early in the game. I think it's like the second one you find that is like you can't access
That was a weird design choice because for the longest time I was like, okay, there's this tall neck in the middle of the desert. And I still did the thing of like, if I climb that mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I can glide there.
Down to it. And I tried it once. I was like, no.
It's such a strange design thing. I don't
gliding,
get it.
Where in Horizon, you go more down than you do horizontally.
Oh, you drop very quickly.
Yeah. So, and I was like, well, and if you look at the icon on the map, it's got a huge lock on it. So I'm like, well, I clearly don't have the tool I need, but you're right, spoiler, the tool you need is a flying thing.
See, so I only noticed the lock fairly recently, and I thought, okay, well, it's going to be a piece of gear
I thought the same.
Special gear. But now I've unlocked all the special gear, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah,
and then
that is a weird design choice.
I got to another side mission where I need to climb like this big mountain. And as soon as I get to the base, Aloy's like, not getting up there without a flying machine. And I'm like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, so yeah.
Well, at least they're polite enough to let you know.
That is true. For all the talking Aloy does, they do a very good job of like, if she gets to the start of a puzzle and you clearly do not have the tools, she'll be like, I don't have what I need. I should come back. Yeah. So you don't just waste your time banging your head against this dumb thing. So I appreciate that part, because there are a lot of Metroidvania style games which do not do that.
And you're just
infuriating.
Like, maybe I do get a grapple hook just now or something.
Yeah.
So.
Or they're like, they put a jump just out of your reach, and you're like, am I just bad at jumping, or do I need a upgraded
double jump or something?
I hate design like that, because it's so dumb. And like, it just wastes your time. It's unintentionally there to waste your time.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying Horizon though. Like, I think the game, good. I mean, not that you weren't ever enjoying it, but like I said, it was almost like one of those things of you're kind of just making your way through it, doing the motion, but now you're like, yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. I mean, last time I spoke to you, it was a thing of just mainline it, see the story out, and then you can jump into other stuff. But you just told me that you're engaging in side content. Which I think is a very good sign of the game does have great side content. I mean, I'm sure that you now having played a lot more, you've noticed instances of you go to a village or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, we know you did this thing. You're like, how did they know? You know what I mean? Like, there's just instances where the story feels so organic.
The world feels quite alive.
Yeah, where people actually comment and respond on things you've done. I'm like, but I'm in some hidden village in the corner of the map. And
it's very reactive in that way. And that's what just puzzles me. Like, you have NPCs that will react to your events like throughout the world, but then at the same time, that same system or whatever has Aloy repeat the same lines of dialogue over and over again. So it just seems strange that so much good care and attention was placed in some places and just kind of like dropped the ball in others. So I think it's more frustrating than like, bad, because it's just like, what could have been. You can see so much polish in so many different places, and then just a lack of it in others. So like in a lot of Aloy's dialogue and just the platforming feels like it comes from a different game, because it is so unrefined when you compare it to every other mechanic in this game. It just it almost, and it couldn't have been an afterthought. It feels like an afterthought, but it can't have been, because it's so integral to the game. But like, boy, it's just really infuriating.
Yeah, I think especially given that, so I mean, some of the main story quests will put you in a cauldron, for example. And there's some very intricate design there of, you need to navigate to that platform over there, and to do that you need to do a whole lot of other things. It's like you intentionally put a lot of this platforming stuff in. But it feels bad.
It's integral to so many of the story quests as well. And it's just like, it just feels wrong. Like, you cannot depend on Aloy. Just sometimes does not grab places where she's meant to.
No.
And then sometimes a thing I was encountering yesterday with one of those ancient ruin areas, where just like any other platforming game that you've played recently, like Uncharted and whatever, if you jump slightly away from where you're meant to grab, it kind of like magnetizes you to where you should grab. So I don't know if this was a bug, but Aloy was magnetizing to nothing. So I would literally jump backwards, and there was a ledge behind me, and as soon as she jumped backwards, she like moved to the right and just fell down. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Amazing.
Like, so it's like stuff like that is just strange. It feels bad. It's way too over animated. So the climbing feels so slow, because she's like, as she's about to jump to a like handhold next to her, she does this big like wind up and then jumps there, and it just feels like unresponsive. It's like, is she actually jumping there or not? And then you're like, oh wait, the animation's starting. Like, it doesn't feel great.
Well, there you go. That's your Horizon updates. Any more thoughts? Any other thoughts to share in the game?
It's long.
It's long.
Oh,
Super
also
long.
the best area in that game, the one that you've seen in all the trailers, like the actual ocean in San Francisco, only comes in at the end of the game, which I think is super strange.
Very weird.
Because the first half of that game is areas that look almost identical to
The first game. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this looks good, but design-wise, I'm not. I mean, aside from Plainsong, which I think is like just gorgeous
Plainsong is
design,
real good, yeah.
really, really good. But yeah, now that I finally got into the coast, I'm like, oh my god, this is something else. This is unbelievably gorgeous. So yeah, it's good.
Well, Horizon
And you,
and me. What? And me what?
What have you been playing?
That is such a hard pivot. Like, yeah, Horizon. Now, what are you playing?
What are you playing?
I mean,
you do the streaming thing, so I don't think anyone knows.
Hold up, let me just pull open this footage. So I've been playing. So last week, I touched on a little game called Gran Turismo.
Ooh,
Sony's
Vroom Vroom Simulator.
Sony's Vroom Vroom. Sony's Vroom. Oh, that is not the right screen.
Love that gameplay.
Where the hell is my? Oh my god! Here we go. People watching the video feed are like, "What just happened? You saw nothing."
You actually just sent someone into orbit with all those hard cuts.
My god! So last time I spoke about Gran Turismo, I'd only literally played less than an hour. So that is really just me figuring out how the game works. I've put a lot more time into the game since then. I'd say maybe 8 to 10 hours.
Oh wow! Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I did get some time into this week, and I'm really enjoying it. Purely because it seems like, so just for context, like I mentioned last week, the last Gran Turismo I played was 3, I think, in the PlayStation 2, and before that 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 1. So there's this huge gap. I've missed 4, 5, 6. So going back to this, it just takes me back to my childhood of playing. This is probably the one racing game I put the most time into way back when. And I think you always have the best description of it. Just feels like comfort food, where I can't tell you that there's just been this huge evolution for me or anything, because to me it just feels like Gran Turismo. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm enjoying going through the motion of, going through races and then getting money and then getting different cars. But I suppose the way it's structured is a bit different. So I can't comment on, I don't know how Gran Turismo 6, did its quote unquote story or narrative. But just to recap, Gran Turismo 7 has a system where you visit a cafe. Narratively, you go to a cafe and the owner there says, I've got a menu for you. And the menu is usually a thing of unlock these 3 cars, or unlock.
Would you like a Cortado and a VW Polo?
A VW Polo. Unlock these 3 cars, do this championship, get this license. And that's basically how the story progresses, where you started right at the beginning. It's a thing of, here's a menu, go buy your first car. Cool, you go buy your first car. Now go win these races. You go win those races. But what's quite cool is that it uses this system as a means or a vehicle to, dive into car history, which for someone like me is quite cool in that I really enjoy cars, but I can't tell you I'm a petrol head. Don't ask me what is the history of the Nissan Skyline or BMW? I don't know. I'm just like, they look nice. But for example, so you'll get a menu that says, cool, you've progressed this far. I now want you to collect 3 Alfa Romeos. Go do these races. And it's very handholdy in that it shows you exactly where to go win them. It's like, cool, here are the races you need to do. This is the reward you get. But when you collect those 3 Alfa Romeos, it's like, cool, you've won these. Here's your reward. Now let me tell you a little bit about these. And then it says Alfa Romeo is Italy's XYZ. And it's not long in the tooth of here's a 5-10 minute video. It's literally a minute.
It's not like the intro video.
No, not like the intro video. It's just a neat overview. And then it's like, cool, now you've done this. Now I want you to go collect 3 BMWs. In that regard, it feels nice to get a checklist of things to do. But that being said, I do wonder, if that hasn't removed a bit of the charm of figuring out, what car to buy and how to do the races. Because when I say I need to unlock 3 BMWs, the races I end up doing are, okay, you can only do these races with a German car, for example. So it's like, okay, now I have to go buy a BMW or an Audi or whatever. But it's like, if you're watching the video stream right now, like I'm racing with a Mitsubishi.
Japanese
car. Now I've put a lot of love and effort into this car, and I really like driving this car. But now all of a sudden, the game forces me to play with something else, which is like, it's not a bad thing, but maybe I don't want to buy a BMW or an Audi. Like I just want to stick with my Japanese car. But I mean that's
I feel
just
like that's always been Gran Turismo.
I think I can't remember. I mean maybe that's how the formula's been. But again, not a bad thing. I suppose
I do feel like that's something Forza changed. Like they were like, okay, this event is specifically designed for these cars, but if you use this car, then all the AI is going to use a similar car.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So again, it's not a bad thing. Like I think, oh my god, that cornering was bad.
That shunt was bad.
I'm nitpicking, but the plus side is that it does force you to use more cars, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I've now gone through, from Mitsubishi to BMW to, there's one part of the game where it's like collect Mustangs, collect Camaros. Like I've done, the American side of the story. And it's fun to drive around and try out these new cars and see how different they are. Because I think, what Gran Turismo is, its real strength lies in, it is a simulation racer. It's different to Forza in that Forza Horizon in that Forza Horizon, like we've said, you jump in, you're given you get to choose the fastest car and you could probably hang on to it for most of the game. But you get given cars like willy-nilly.
Absolutely. And like the actual act of collecting is not the reason you play Forza.
Whereas Gran Turismo, it's a little bit more methodical. But in terms of the racing, especially, Forza is very forgiving. It's very arcadey, and if you depending on how many assists whatever you put on, whereas Gran Turismo feels very much like, holy shit, I need to pay some serious attention to how I'm driving. I think what really stands out for me in Gran Turismo is that the cars feel like they have weight. Like if I'm going too fast, I don't brake fast enough. Like I just go straight off that track. You really have to brake like well in advance to not fly around the corner and slide off whatever.
It's definitely far more sim-like in that regard. It's like, this is how a car would react in real life.
Exactly. And what's really nice is that, if you've played a Forza or, let's go old school, like a Need for Speed, that's different because those are more arcadey. But when you wrap your head around, racing properly, braking well in advance, it takes a while to get used to because, in what game do you have to brake 4 years in advance? Not many.
In real life.
But when you get your head around how the cars feel heavy, I'm still early days, right? Like I am going to get to proper racing cars. It will let me go around the track a lot quicker. But playing with, a typical sedan or hatchback that's got a turbo in it, it takes a while to get used to. But when you get a feel for the game of like the cars feel heavy, but it
also feels like they aren't if you're sliding around on the track, if you're drifting, you're like racing wrong. You know what I mean? Whereas in Forza, it's like, fucking drift around.
Drift around. It's like one rule that, so again, just for context, if you don't know Gran Turismo, there's a system built into the game where you have to get a licenses to take on harder races. So for example, when you start the game, you get like I think it's a B tier license, whatever. It's very basic.
You go to the DMV, you take an eye test, you do the
you do all of the things, you queue for hours.
But it's horrible.
It's a basic thing of like, it sounds dumb, but they're like, cool, we want test one, we want you to race 400 meters and then stop in the zone. Cool. But as you progress through into the more advanced licenses, it's a thing of, cool, now we're going to teach you how to corner. And, there's a quick explanation of like, you want to brake here and then accelerate at this point. And when you go through the motion and you figure that out, you start to get a feel for like, oh, this is how I should be racing. You learn how to do your lines a bit better, when to accelerate, when to brake. And then obviously as you're doing through the licenses, which are very challenging if you're going for the golds, you get a feel for this kind of game, and it feels good. Like I found it interesting that you'll have PlayStation and Xbox fans like at each other's throats saying like, oh, but we've got Forza, oh, but we've got Gran Turismo. It's like, but they're not the same game. Like,
yeah, they're very
Forza Motorsport
very, very
I've never played, but I know that's meant to be the more sim-like. But you can't compare Forza Horizon to Gran Turismo. It's
not at all. That's like comparing a Need for Speed to Gran Turismo. It's in two entirely different games. Yeah.
But I guess the long and the short of it is if you've enjoyed previous Gran Turismos, or you enjoy more sim-like racing games, like Gran Turismo is great. Like I'm enjoying it. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's revolutionized what came before, because I never played 6. But as far as Gran Turismo goes, for me, like comfort food, I'm enjoying it. It makes me think of all those hours I poured into my PlayStation 1 as a kid, just doing races, getting money, buying a new car, souping it up. And even on that front, quickly, like customizing your car is relatively straightforward in this game, which I really like. So if I buy a car, I go to the auto tune shop. It's like, cool, you can buy this intercooler, for example, and it shows you. It's like it'll bump up your brake horsepower by 15 and this by 10, and you just see the numbers go up. It's like, I don't need to know the nitty gritty. It's a bit like an RPG in the sense of I see the numbers going up, like I'm getting better, or this car is getting better. So yeah, that's cool. But I mean, that being said, you can 100% customize to your heart's content. If you want to get into suspension and your gearbox, all of that stuff, those options are there. But for someone like me who doesn't really care, it makes making my car faster very accessible. So that's cool. And yeah,
nice. I'm glad you are enjoying it. I do want to put more time into it as well. Because I think it's
all the
time
it's fun. You have.
Well, I mean, we'll get to this in news, but it's like all the time I have, and then when I actually do want to play, you realize that there's some weird weird decisions made with how online works in this game and how it's straight up required.
Fortunately, I never had that issue because I didn't play it over that period. But put a pin on that. We'll get back to that in news quickly.
It's the biggest problem with this game, I think, at the moment. And I actually cannot believe it was released in that state. So what else have you been playing? You've been playing that good Ring of Elders.
I've been playing that Ring of Elders.
Ringing your Elders.
I'm not going to talk too much about it other than just
every time you call your parents-in-law, like they placed fun at dinners ready, you're Elden Ringing them.
Ringing my elders.
Yep.
I won't go too long on the game other than say
went to dinner with your Elden Ringers. Hey.
Other than just to reiterate that this game is 10
out of 10 chef's kiss.
It's I don't know. I know we're only in March. There's many games still to come out this year, but this game is like truly exceptional. Like it's 100% going to be in Game of the Year conversations. Like I know it's a dumb thing to be like, it's Game of the Year for sure, because obviously there's more games to come out. But when you start playing it, I think you also will see, being a From fan, just the level of detail and attention and just thought that has gone into this game, and they've pulled it off. Like I know you and I and many others thought like an open world Dark Souls sounds cool, but how do you actually pull it off? And I don't know. I feel like they've pulled it off. There's just I'm about 30 hours into the game now, and it's such a weird thing, but it's a nice thing where you play a game. When you can say you've played a game for 30 hours and you've barely scratched the surface, and it doesn't put me off. I'm like, thank God, I've got so much
You're like
more.
Itching for more.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you get open world games. It's like, shit, I'm 30 hours in, and I'm kind of
I feel
over
like I've
it.
seen I saw everything in the first 10 hours type of thing.
Like I'm doing the same stuff, and I just kind of want to like roll credits now.
That's what Horizon felt like for a very long time.
For a long time,
so,
I'm glad it's somewhat click for you now. But Elden Ring is a thing of I've played 30 hours. I look at my map, I'm like, there's just so much. Like I've got map that I've uncovered, and I've got fog of war map, and on the map I've uncovered, I still have a lot of little points and things that I've marked like, I need to go back and fight that boss. There's that dungeon there I wasn't strong enough to tackle. There's that tower there, which I know I need to put something at the base to like raise the elevator. I need to figure out that stuff. And it's fun. Like
Are you actually kind of happy that the update, the update completely fucked your build along with 90% of the internet, it seems
like. It didn't. It is a knee-jerk reaction of like, so just for context, a patch dropped earlier this week and they made a lot of balance changes to that game.
Huge balance changes,
And one of the things is on Tuesday, I found I had a weapon art that basically does bleed damage, and I equipped it. I was like, damn, this shit's really good. So it's like pretty strong, does procs bleed damage. And then the next day they nerf it. So I was like, why? Why have you done this? They've nerfed it, but it's 100% still viable. I'm not like, oh, my run's broken, I've got to pivot to something else.
I've got to pivot to faith, as so many people seem to be doing.
But what you were getting at is that one of the updates they added is that on the map now they mark NPCs, which look, I can't say I've really engaged too hardcore with quests. I've really just been running around. It's been that Breath of the Wild thing of I just see a thing, I run there, or I open up my map and I'm like, I need to explore this area. I've got one or two quests running, but I can't tell you that it's been a problem for me necessarily, but I'm grateful that they've added this thing because if I was paying very close attention to the quests and the maps and I only have 10 icons to choose from, and then I put like a person icon, I start using that as my representation of NPCs, and then 30 hours in I look at my map, I'm like, I've got 20 of these things, I don't know who's where. Like that would be a problem. Now you pull open the map, there's an NPC icon and their name, which is very helpful.
Yeah, that's pretty helpful. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's required, but like when you consider that they sold 12 million copies, there's a lot of people coming into here that aren't used to not having their handheld hectically. Yeah. It's I think that's a good change. I wanted to know, how do you clear the fog of war? Is it just by resting at sites of whatever?
No, so you find there are map icons. Not map pieces. No, that's not even the right term. You find actual maps that uncover sections of the map. So, interestingly, you'll find...
And does exploring an area that is covered by fog of war,
doesn't reveal it.
Interesting.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's cool. You'll start noticing, like I figured out this week that the map has these icons on it. So if I've found a map for an area, it shows me the landscape, whatever. But even on that map itself, there are some icons. And I learned this week, I was like, there's like this weird orange, it almost looks like a portal. And I'd noticed like on Thursday, and I'm like, these are all over my map. Like, what are those? And now I know that those are entrances to mines. So it's it's interesting. There are things like that. Oh, my coffee arrived. Cheers.
Service.
That's service with a smile. Just flicks her hair at me. No, so there are things on the map that are there that also aren't explicitly told you, but you learn. Like, I think that's one of the coolest things about this game, that people are I mean, look, some people want to have their handheld, and that's not a bad thing. Like, some people want to say, some people want to play a game where it's like, cool, here's a quest log, there's the next part, there's the part of the map you need to go to, whatever. Which that's 99% of games and how they have been for like a decade or two now. But I think some people are learning that, you know what, it actually feels good to explore organically. Like, I think one of the coolest things about this game is that I can't tell you I've had a conversation with anyone who's playing it the same way I have. It's always a thing of, I mean, I'm streaming it, so people are watching it who are also playing Elden Ring and going, oh yeah, you did this thing very early, I only went there later, or like you showed me a boss I've never seen before, or you've done a thing I've never done before. And it feels that every conversation you have with someone is going to have a thing. It's that you know, the holy grail of gaming, of it gives a lot of water cooler moments of, if you go to the office, you're going to talk to people, you're all going to have stories to tell of you know, I was doing this thing and then I got ambushed by NPCs. Oh, cool. I was doing this thing and I stumbled onto a boss who took it very hard. I was like maybe a bit underleveled, but I fought them. There's a lot of that in this game. And it's just on such an expansive level of, they could have made the map not small, but like, I'm going to thumbs like and say they could have halved the size of the map, you know, made it, you know, more concentrated, and the game still would have been good. But the fact that they've done it on such an expansive level, and I think the best comparison I can have is when I play Breath of the Wild, the board's very open, but it feels like somebody specifically did this mountain here with this view of this thing. It feels like, you know, there's a human touch of somebody chose to design it this way. Elden Ring is, and Elden Ring feels like that times 10, because we know Elden Ring, well, not Elden Ring, we know that FromSoft, when they put a skeleton there and then an NPC 2 meters over, it's for a story reason of like, if you look into the lore, oh, this is a knight from this clan and they clearly had I'm obviously making it up.
It's extremely purposeful.
It's extremely purposeful, but it feels like all the other games, but just are multiplied on such a huge scale, on an open world scale of like, yeah, there are some fields that there aren't, you know, there's not anything happening. But for the most part, I walk into a forest, there's a campsite there with an NPC, or I walk into a mine and there's stuff there. It's just, there's so much stuff put into this game. It's just like stuffed with signature from goodness.
So much thought.
There's a lot of thought, and it's just unbelievable to think that they've nailed an open world. Like, never done an open world before, and they absolutely nailed it. And I mean, we've
nailed
touched
it
on
in
this,
their style as well.
In
it
their
doesn't
style.
feel like foreign to a FromSoft game.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm getting at, is that it's interesting that the open world is what this franchise needed to make it more accessible to more people. I mean, we'll get to it in news, but 12 million copies sold. Like, I think Dark Souls 3 sold 10 million copies in its lifetime.
10 over 4 years.
Over 4 years. This has sold 12 million in a
less
month.
than 4 weeks.
Yeah. But I think, and you and I know several people who have told us like not interested in Elden Ring, and they've dipped their toe in and they're like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah, people who aren't from software fans at all, and they're like hooked now.
Yeah, and it's purely because this game has tools. Like right out the gate, there are tools. So, for example, you can summon NPCs to help you fight. There's a lot more magic in the game. Holy shit, I'm picking up spells. I'm like, my next run or playthrough has to be a mage, because there's just so much stuff I want to experiment with. But what I'm getting at more specifically is that the open world lets you choose how to tackle the world, which, like, again, I don't know what it means in the long run in terms of balance. Like, am I going to get to an area and be like, this is a cakewalk because I'm too strong? But for a new player, it's a thing of, they get to boss, go, yeah, I'm not nowhere near strong enough to fight this boss. I'm just going to go somewhere else. And there are plenty places to go.
Which is empowering, because, like in the previous games, it was like, nah, you've got to go grind. So you've just got to replay things, or you've just got to figure something out.
It's like, we've designed it that you at this boss at this level, you have to fight this boss now. Yeah. And look, I guess some of that will be lost in Elden Ring, because you can go power through.
Of course, yeah.
But it's your choice. Like, I can tell you, personally, when I get to a boss, I do a thing of, I'll attack them, or I'll take a hit to go, oh, like, this boss one hit me, not worth my efforts. Or
you're clearly not meant to be a type of thing.
I'm barely doing damage to them, like, whatever. I've had it this week where I went to a boss, I was like, way too overpowered, like 3 hit them dead. Cool. But most times I go to a boss and I'll attack them and go, yeah, I do like not a lot of damage, but enough damage that I want to take them on now. I have the choice to like face them now and learn their patterns, and, you know, from soft myself of, this is a hard boss that I want to grind out. But that's my choice. Other people can go, no, I'm just going to go away and come back when I'm when I'm a lot stronger, and that's cool. Like it's a thing of, I know a lot of people still won't touch the game, and that's fine. But it feels like From have, whether it's explicitly or implicitly, I mean, I think it's explicitly, they've given players the tools to make the games more accessible without putting a difficulty cap. There's no easy mode in the game, but in terms of design, you can make the game, easy mode if you wanted to.
Yes, yeah.
So,
and I mean, that's, I don't want to give credence to people being like this, but like, there is no wrong way to play this game. Everything, you cannot say that From Software has explicitly designed this in a way and then turn around and say, oh, but people playing with faith or people just grinding aren't playing it correctly. No, they are, because that's part of the game's design.
The fact that you can summon NPCs is completely new to their games, and that is 100% intentional. Here's a tool to help you should you need it. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's not forced on you. Yeah.
And in past From games that was there, and like I never really used it. But it was there. Like I could have used it.
I'm not talking about summoning like other players.
I know it's very different. I know it's very different in this game. It's like expanded to an nth degree, but they were like summons to a degree in like Bloodborne. You could always summon people before a boss, and then you'd have like an NPC fighting with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, you could get like a AR controlled,
and that would help a ton because then the boss has someone else to aggro.
Exactly.
So, yeah, but I mean that's part of the game. It's in there. It doesn't matter if it makes the fight easier or not. You are still working within the confines of the game. So who cares?
Here I am. So I'm not going to talk about Elden Ring long, but good lord, game is so good. I can't wait for you to get into it because I think you're also just going to fall in love with this game. So yeah,
and I mean. It's such a bother because like next week or this coming week is like the release of Ghostwire Tokyo, and it's just like for fuck's sake, another like open world game like that I'm like very very keen to give a go at. So
is Ghostwire Tokyo open world?
Yeah, well it's like one of those semi open worlds where it's like you're in an area, then it's cornered off. You open it up, and then you've got a bigger area.
Thank God, because to get another explicit open world game, I'm like,
yeah, it's. Well, I have heard that. I mean, there was previews that came out like this week or the week before, and they were allowed to talk about the first 2 chapters of the game, and apparently the first 2 chapters are 10 hours.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Games, why? Stop it. It's like I completely acknowledge it's such a first world problem, but like when you're running a little baby podcast and there's 2 of us and the games you're getting are just too long.
There's just only so much we can do.
I know.
There's only so much we can get to.
There's a reason we've spoken about Horizon, Elden Ring, and Gran Turismo. Well, Gran Turismo is new, but Elden Ring and Horizon, we've spoken for like many weeks in a row now because they're long. Like that's what we play. Yeah. Sorry.
And this is discounting all the other games coming out. Or should we pivot?
Yeah.
Should we pivot? Game releases, just so that we get this craziness out of the way.
My goodness.
We're looking at games from today, March 19th to March 25th. Happy payday.
Oh my God, payday.
So
need it.
So we've got Ruin Factory 5 coming to Nintendo Switch March 22nd. A game called Norco coming to PC March 24th. The PlayStation release of The Ascent.
Cool.
Coming to PS4 and PS5 March 24th. High Rise City Steam Early Access on PC March 24th. Lumode, The Master Mode Chronicles. Okay. Coming to PC, PlayStation, Switch, and Stadia March 24th. A Memoir Blue coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch March 24th. And then your 3 big games for the week all launching on Friday. Kirby and the Forgotten Land coming to Nintendo Switch March 25th. Go eat things as Kirby in The Last of Us. Ghostwire Tokyo coming to PC and PS5 March 25th. And Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the Borderlands, not DLC, PC, PlayStation, Xbox.
A holy trinity of game releases for next Friday.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 2 platform exclusives and then a third-party shooter.
Yeah, I'm very keen for Kirby specifically because
so keen.
My Switch needs some love. Like I had my fill with Pokemon Arceus, enjoyed it. But now my poor Switch has just been sitting there.
I'm
unloved.
super keen for Kirby. That game looks pretty great. Pretty great.
Cool. Gaming news. Shall we headline with the biggest news this week? Shocker. Harry Potter's Legacy actually had a gameplay trailer, which this is pretty left field, right?
I think it was left field because it was like a state of play the week after the last state of play, and it was a state of play just for Harry Potter. So it seems like a marketing deal, if anything else.
But I 100% thought this game, like, it's coming out next year, right? Oh, no, wait, no.
No, end of this year now.
Why did? Oh, it was meant to be this previous year, and then it got delayed.
Yes, yeah,
okay,
it was meant
so
to be
I'm getting
last
my.
year.
Okay,
And
so,
then before it was last year, it was meant to be the year before that.
Holy shit!
Yeah, game has been delayed.
It's been around the block. Let me just make this nice big screen for the video viewers. I have not actually watched the state of play. Sorry to say.
Like the whole 15. It's like 15 minutes. It's
I've
it's not
scrubbed,
bad.
I've scrubbed through it. I haven't watched it from beginning to end. But I think, yeah, it's quite exciting to think of a open world Harry Potter game where you can, be a student doing your thing at Hogwarts.
I think if I'm not mistaken, it takes place before the events of the books.
I'm
and the
pretty
films.
sure it'd be before.
Yeah.
Unless they go after and there's, a whole lot of tongue-in-cheek Easter eggs of like, oh, Harry Potter.
Yeah. So it's like an open worldish thing in Hogwarts. You attend classes, which I assume is how you get different skills and spells and stuff like that. And then there's some really cool looking combat, lots of like pixel effects, and it almost looks like a third person action game in a way. You're firing off spells and blocking them and doing stuff, in that regard. So.
I think what you and I both agree on is that the game looks shockingly pretty. Like I didn't expect that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Yeah.
So hang on, let me just skip through to some combat here.
It's like it is open world-ish. So and also like an RPG. So you are building your character up, like in terms of skills and abilities and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how hard they let you lean in on like one aspect versus another. Like, do you lean in on a certain type of spell? Do you lean in on a certain type of magical damage, and does that lock you out of other things? Or is it just sort of eventually you'll be able to cast like fucking everything?
Yeah.
So
I do wonder, like, contextually and in terms of spells, like, how flexible or how involved is the combat? I don't know. Guess we'll see. Because, I mean, it's the world of Harry Potter. There's a lot that they can do, but how they pull it off, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So I didn't realize this is coming out end of this year. That's quite cool.
And of course, I mean, it's not directly developed by her, but it is obviously her property. But like, there's a lot of shit surrounding J.K. Rowling and her anti-trans takes, and I mean, if you don't feel comfortable supporting that, that's totally fine. If you just really like Harry Potter and I guess don't know about J.K. Rowling's things, you should definitely read up on it, because it's it's good to know where your art is coming from. Either if you still engage with that art, that is completely up to you, but I think it's important to understand the context of those arguments.
It's upsetting because like I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, like love the books, and then it's just like it just sours the whole thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just
and
sad,
I think a lot of people are in that vein. Like, they love this world that was created. It's just like, wow, the person who created them is kind of shitty. So, and actually doing actual harm to people with a platform that big, and entertaining bigotry in that manner. So kind of complicated, as is most things nowadays. But, it's always good to to make informed decisions. You should read up on that stuff. And I know for a fact that a lot of people are unaware of J.K. Rowling's takes. So it's good to read up on that.
Yeah. So the hard pivot to looking at the combat actually looks really fun.
Yeah, looks good. The combat looks pretty great. That's why I was saying it looks like a third-person action game, except like it's weird. Like it definitely looks like a character action game, but you're not like fighting a sword. It's probably like button presses to do all sorts of little things.
Yeah.
What I do like is it's not like a shooter, because I know some past film adaptation games are like, okay, you have a reticle and that's where you're aiming your wand.
Yeah.
This one kind of looks like you're
just choosing what to cast,
enemies. Which I think is a much better approach. It looks a lot more fluid, put it that way. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Cool. So that's coming out sometime.
Holiday 2022. I would not be shocked if that, like,
gets pushed out
next year again. But
no. Cool. I suppose... Speaking of Sony state of play, I don't know why did Sony have this as a state of play? Just for
it must be a marketing thing.
Yeah, okay.
Must have been a marketing thing.
But keeping with Sony, as we alluded to a little bit earlier in the episode, Gran Turismo 7 review bombed as extended maintenance drags on. So
basically the game was taken offline for server maintenance, and there were patch notes that were put out, and it already got people riled up because turns out Polyphony were increasing the number of credits you need for cars. And this is like hot on the heels of criticism that it was already too high.
Too high, yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, they saw that criticism or didn't, and we're just like, fuck that. We're going to make it even harder for you to grind for cars, or, pay us more money to cars,
just for context, you can 100% pay to get in-game credits. So it's
that's shitty in a $70 game. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like to actively like skew it even more into the harder avenue is just Anyway, they took the game offline for that, and then I don't know if something went wrong or whatever, but the maintenance continued for well over 24 hours. The problem is that the game was literally unplayable because of this. So at first it was assumed that, there are online modes in Gran Turismo 7, but there is content that you can play offline when, servers are offline. That is super not the case, as people found out. I found out because I had a friend visiting. I wanted to show him GT7 and server was offline. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And it just sits on a loading screen. It doesn't even gracefully like exit. It comes up with a message being like, can't connect to server, whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. Clicked it, and it just sits on a loading screen, and it just sat there for 5 minutes. And I was like, something is very wrong. So I rebooted the game, tried it again, same thing. It doesn't get to like a main menu and be like, you can't play, which would be shitty, but at least then like it doesn't look like the game is just falling over itself.
Yeah.
But the game is literally unplayable without an internet connection, which makes no sense to me considering it is it's a connected online game. They obviously need a server connection to manage your currency and all that shit. But like, if I just want to race on a track, like I should be allowed to do that, surely, like in a game like this. I mean, that is a terrible glimpse into the future of GT7 whenever Sony decides to pull the trigger on bringing down the servers, which, they have done. You look at Drive Club, you look at GT Sport, they've done that. So like, is GT7 just on a timer?
I don't know.
In 5 years, will you just not be able to play this game anymore?
Don't know.
Kind of garbage.
No.
Kind of garbage.
Yeah, some hot garbage.
Yeah.
Cool. So the actual doo-doo water of the server. Shall we move on to a new announcement? The Quarry is an all-new teen horror game coming from Supermassive Games. So, keeping with the PlayStation link, these are the people who did Until Dawn, which was... Is that a PlayStation exclusive? It was an exclusive.
I think at the time, but I don't think it is anymore. Yeah. They've been doing the... that anthology series. What's it called?
The Dark...
Well, Man and Medan was one of them, yeah. The Dark Pictures anthology. Yeah. That's the one, yeah. Where it's like similar styled games, but it's, an anthology series. So this seems to be more in line with Until Dawn in it being like a teen slasher interactive film.
I mean, the setting is it like summer camp, something with
it's real
David
Jason
Arquette.
energy. Yeah. And there's like big actors attached to it as well. So yeah, what's cool is that they have a mode in here called like I think movie mode, where you can literally just watch events play out and not take part in what's happening in them. So it's like an actual movie.
That's cool. It's just like a little popcorn evening.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. And Until Dawn was really cool in that it captured the B grade, schlock of a slasher horror. But obviously had very far-reaching effects. You could end the game with everyone alive or everyone dead.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I never got that sort of feeling from the anthology series. Like I played Man of Medan, and I was just like, this just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as smart. It doesn't feel as clever. It was just reliant on jump scares, and so I'm kind of keen that they're going back to this formula. I think it'll be quite cool.
Their winning formula. Cool.
Yeah.
Is there any release date here?
I don't know.
No. July 8th? No, I don't know. No.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I have no idea.
This studio though, they tend to put out games relatively quickly. So
I think they've locked down this at least technical side. They've locked it down. So I think it's more, just writing and all the different permutations.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. In keeping with horror, Netflix's Resident Evil live action series gets teaser art and a summer/winter for South Africa release date. This is such a this is interesting. John Michael pointed out to me this week because I think Capcom have a Steam sale happening at the moment.
Okay.
So we were just talking about it, and he just looks at me and said, "You are definitely a big Resident Evil fan. You've probably played every game."
No
and
ways,
really? But we know I'm a big fan. And then I looked at him and was like, you're right. I don't think I've missed any mainline games. Like I have 100% played all of them. Even some of the spin-offs like Revelations 1 and 2. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely a big Resident Evil fan. And this series is a big question mark for me. So sorry, just quickly. Netflix's live action Resident Evil series will debut globally on July 14th. And I'm curious, like it's a thing of I know Resident Evil isn't going to be winning any Oscars. Even some of the main games, like it's not going to be Game of the Year material, but I love playing them. You best believe I'm very excited to just watch the Resident Evil series. I don't know if it'll be any good, but yeah, is this like an alternate timeline or a prequel or a sequel?
I think I guess you could call it alternate timeline, but it's meant as like a sequel to the games because the main character is going to be Albert Wesker's daughter.
Yeah. So
which hasn't been in any of the games.
Here's the synopsis. The year 2036, 14 years after the deadly virus caused a global apocalypse, Jade Wesker fights for survival in a world overrun by the bloodthirsty, infected, and insane creatures. In this absolute carnage, Jade is haunted by her past in New Raccoon City, by her father's chilling connections to the Umbrella Corporation, but mostly by what happened to her sister, Billy.
New Raccoon City.
Okay, so it's an alternate, maybe not alternate, future Resident Evil piece focused on Albert Wesker and kids. So I think why you and I are very excited for this is that Albert Wesker will be played by Lance Reddick, who is Silence in Horizon Forbidden West.
Yep, and he's
great actor.
Oh, what's his name? He's one of the main characters in Destiny as well. He's very good at his game stuff, and he's like, he really leans into it in a very wholesome and good way. So yeah, I fully expect to see him completely committing to that role, and I think that will be great.
Now, place your bets. What are the chances that they are going to, at the end of the season, show us Chris Redfield or Leon or one?
Oh, definitely.
100%. They have to feature somewhere. It's like a little surprise.
And they are absolutely going to have him punch a boulder. That's just how it is, you know.
It's true.
It's gonna the final scene of the series is gonna be, you hear this punching in the background, and you see this like boulder, and the camera pans, and then you see this like really ripped back of a guy, and then he turns around and he just looks at the camera, and he's got like bloodied hands, and there's like blood on the boulder.
My goodness, unrelated.
Tiny.
I have a cat on my shoulder.
Amazing.
Cool. Last pieces of news. Steam Deck now supports Xbox Cloud streaming through Edge browser.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. It seems that Microsoft actually worked with Valve to be like, you know, we can't get Game Pass on Linux yet. But obviously people can access their Game Pass libraries through streaming in supported regions, obviously.
Now,
but I assume all the regions that the Steam Deck is launching in have access to Game Pass, cloud gaming, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you can put Windows on the Steam Deck. I know it's garbage.
Yes.
But
yes.
if it
you do not need Windows for this.
No, but what I'm getting at is if they were to fix the Windows on Steam Deck drama, surely would that not make Game Pass accessible?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's like
it's just like not working.
Yeah, I mean that's more up to AMD than Valve because it's more AMD's drivers, and Valve, like, they're putting all of their work into SteamOS, not into like they're like, you can 100% install Windows on this thing, but they made it very clear they aren't supporting that. So they're not going to make like, you know, SteamOS makes this thing feel like a portable console, whereas when you have Windows on there, it's like, okay, well, this controller doesn't work as well as I, you know, think it should because the drivers are all fucking a mess on Windows. So, yeah, like, I wouldn't do that. But at least this gives you access to your Game Pass library, and it's on Linux. There are steps to follow to do this, which are quite extensive. They also do something that, you know, I think is totally fine. If you are familiar with Linux and just messing with PCs, it's not a problem. But during the review period, Valve said, you know, we've made this device a read-only device in terms of its file system, and you have to like overwrite that in the command panel to get Microsoft Edge onto this. So, you know, you run the risk of, if you fuck this up, like, you need a factory reset this device. So there's always that. But other than that, seems pretty cool. And there's steps as well there to get the Edge browser to recognize all the inputs of the Steam controller as well. So yeah, it's pretty comprehensive, and good on Microsoft for, I think that's the extent of the kind of support they're going to give us. So like, we are not going to work tirelessly to get the Xbox app working on Linux just for the Steam Deck. Like, this is a happy medium.
Okay. It's like a middle ground, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. And then last piece of news. Overwatch 2 beta starts April 26 on PC. Yeah.
Congratulations to Blizzard and Overwatch players. You know, happy birthday to Grant Hines. I'm sure he's happy.
Grant Hines is he sees Widowmaker start salivating like, yes.
Yep.
This is it. And like, look,
super dumb.
I'm very happy for people like Grant and other fans who are huge into Overwatch. Like, of course, it's exciting to get a sequel, but I'm still, I mean, if you listen to this podcast, you know that we have trepidation or just feel cautious. Like, it feels a bit strange to be getting especially now getting a sequel without the PvE element, which is why you would buy the sequel.
I still don't understand what this is. Like,
it's strange.
I don't get it. All the character changes and the maps are coming to Overwatch 1. So why? Outside of better visuals, which is never the focus in an esports game, these games are designed to work on potatoes that you have. I don't get it. Who is going to buy this aside from very, very, very dedicated Overwatch fans? Like, you know, when you can get everything that you need on the version that you already own, I just don't understand the impetus to go and buy this.
Yeah, but that's why I say, like, the whole point of Overwatch 2 is like, yeah, it's the same game, but there's PvE stuff. Now they're like, the PvE stuff is delayed. So I'm like, okay, it's a big question mark from me.
To me, it's strange. Like, I don't understand it. But yeah, that's
cool.
happening.
That's news.
That is news. That means we have arrived at the Q&A session. We are open to taking questions from the class. Please keep your questions to 30 seconds or less.
My goodness.
Lupin, I see your hand is up there. Luna, sorry.
She's just chilling on my shoulder here.
Yeah, she's looking out into the world, having a great time.
If
you want to send us questions, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all our social channels at Checkpoint Chat.
Cool.
What is on the docket?
We have a question from that Nomad Shad, good guy Shad, who asks, is it worth getting Elden Ring on PS4? So interestingly, I can't tell you that I've read much or looked at Elden Ring on PS4. But visually, it is not a next-gen game. Like, sure, it's very pretty. It's a modern-day FromSoft game. I think, though, it probably runs okay on the PS4. I don't know. I haven't actually looked it up, though.
I know Digital Foundry did a video on that, and I recall watching it, and I recall it being okay. Like, definitely if you're playing it on the older gen consoles and you have only the base console. So if you're comparing PS4 and Xbox Series or Xbox One S, then the PS4 is the better of the two.
Yeah.
But I still think you're asking a lot of a base PS4 at this point in time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could probably be fine with it. I wouldn't say it's the best way to play the game. It's definitely not. But yeah, I mean, it functions.
Yeah, but I think
if you have a Pro, I think you're fine. Well, so
I think the only con for me really, and this is a modern day problem of PS5 load times are real good. And I can tell you in my 30 hours of Elden Ring, I've spent a fair bit of time fast traveling around. And it's basically instant on PS5. So I don't know what the load times are on PS4.
I think that's also something you only miss once you've seen the light.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like if you don't really care for that, then Elden Ring's a goddamn great game. I know Shad is a big FromSoft fan, so I'm sure he's dying to get into the new game.
Good games overcome their technical shortcomings.
100%.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild ran poorly on Nintendo Switch at launch, and people were amazing.
Game of the year.
Yeah.
I think if you can look past, the fact that you're playing on older hardware, if it works, by all means, play it. It's good. Cool. So that was on Instagram. I don't think we have any emails. We do have no questions on Facebook, but we do have 2 questions on Twitter from Mick. So, number 1, which is the better game, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, or Metal Gear Rising? My easy answer is I've not played neither, and also they are 2 very different games, so I cannot tell you.
I've played Metal Gear Rising, and I think that game fucking rules.
I still need to play that one day.
Yeah. I mean, one's made by Platinum, one is made by the people who made Neo. So
very, very,
they're different. They're very different.
Very different.
I mean,
games.
one is like level based. Stranger Paradise is like level based, and Metal Gear Rising is a fairly linear game. So yeah, I think they're just very different. I don't think they the same sort of style game at all. Stranger Paradise is all loot based, whereas Metal Gear Rising is very much just linear
action.
Upgrades again.
Yeah.
So yeah, play both.
Good game. I really want to. Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is a game I'll 100% play one day.
It looks like fantastic cheese.
I can't wait. I need it. And then second question, has George R.R. Martin redeemed himself from the Game of Thrones fiasco due to the collaborative work done on Elden Ring? So I don't know if you're referring to the TV show Game of Thrones. How it ended.
I guess people waiting for the books have been waiting for fucking ever for
but that's what I'm saying. So. Like, if you're referring to that fiasco, I don't know if he's single-handedly responsible for the ending of the TV show, but if you're referring to the books not coming out, then yes, people are still waiting while this dude works on literally everything else under the sun. This is the dude who said, you know what, I'm not going to finish Game of Thrones, A Song of Is it Ice and Fire or
Song
Fire and
of
Ice?
Ice.
I'm gonna write a prequel book, like an 800-page tome on the history of Westeros and the Targaryens. A first part. There's a second part still coming out, which I'm sure he's working on. And at the same time, I'm gonna hard pivot and just do some lore writing for a game.
I've read so many times that his actual involvement in the game was so minimal.
Yeah, so what I want to say is that I don't know what did he actually contribute to the game? Like, did he pen like the general world? Because in terms of lore, this feels very much like a typical From game. It's the sort of stuff you'd see in a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne of, there's these different clans and there's this family and this and that and there's these different people. It's like not at all that they've got a template that they fall into, that they just replace character A with a new character type, whatever. But it feels like their sort of game. There's this big mysteries. There's a huge tragedy that happened that led to the world being the way it is. I don't know what George R. R. Martin had in this game. Like, I have no idea. If you could remove his name from it and I'd be like, yeah, this is a From game. At no point do I turn around and go like, oh wow, there's a character called Jon Snow. I can't believe this.
Just a random NPC called Jon Snow.
But on the nose, but there's a Jon Snow here and there's a Great Wall. Well, yeah, I don't know. There are dragons, but again, dragons aren't the signature
Dragons
George R. R.
on Game of
Martin or From
Thrones
thing.
exclusive,
Yeah. So
No, I don't know. I mean, when they announced it, they were pretty much, even when they announced the game, they were like, yeah, he's pretty much done with his involvement already. So I think it was a very shrewd marketing thing as well. Like, get his name on there, and then, limit his involvement. Because, he's never made a game either. So, he could maybe give advice on the overarching world and then just let FromSoft do their thing with that. So
I think if he had to have any involvement, it would have been this is not the right term, but almost like an elevator pitch of here's a world. Here, there's this thing called the Elden Ring. There's a place called the Lands Between. And maybe he set the stage. Maybe.
They're like, thanks for stopping by, George. That's great work.
Thanks. Cool. Thanks for this hour meeting. Cool. Do you mind if we slap your name on the marketing? No? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
All good. Okay, sweet. Yeah. Cheers. Have a great day.
What does this
Enjoy
mean for
your
me?
$1 million check.
10% royalties. Sure, deal. I think, again, we spitballing and shooting in the dark here, but I really think it was maybe he gave a general overview of, the stage, set the stage for, because everything else that follows, it's very from software.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, to give context to this, I'm pretty sure you've heard of a series called The Expanse. The Amazon series itself is finished now. The book series is finished. I think the last book came out this year. And that is written by, it's ghostwritten under a single name, but it's actually two people who write it. And they were understudies for George R. R. Martin during his Game of Thrones writing. And they left and wrote an entire fucking fantasy sci-fi series on the scale of Game of Thrones and finished it before, in the space that he's taken to write just this book. This book.
Let's see when his last book. So this is what blows my mind. Okay, Game of Thrones came out in 96. Just let that sink in. Imagine you found this book damn, this is a really good book. Sets up Westeros and it's got all these cool characters and families. And then you spend the next 30 years waiting for this franchise to finish. The last book, A Dance with Dragons, are you ready for this? Came out in 2011.
Fucking hell, no, man. So it's been over a decade.
It's been more than a decade. And
this next book is not the last one.
No, it's the second last one. No. But that's why I love. I'm this dude just took a break and wrote a prequel that was 800 pages, and it's part one of part two. So of two-part series. So.
Miss me with that shit.
Yeah.
Do not care.
Cool.
Do not care. Yeah.
Thanks, George. You're
the best, Shoddy.
You're the best. And that's questions for this week.
That is indeed questions for this week. If you want to be involved next week, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter @checkpointchat.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That it?
That's it.
Is that it?
That is it. Goodbye.
Well, thank you so much, as always, for listening. We will not be back next week, as we alluded to earlier in the show. But we will be back the week after, hopefully with many, many, many more games to chat about at that point.
Alessandro will have finished Elden Ring. He'll start it next week and then inhale it.
That would be dope.
So expect our full review by then. Cool.
Yeah,
we're gonna play Tunic, Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yes.
All these reviews will be ready. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No,
they'll just be ready to go. It'll be like a 4-hour show.
Shit. Can you imagine? Cool.
Thank you so much for listening. Have a great long weekend or the final day of your
week.
long... Yeah, short week. And we will see you next time on Checkpoint Chat. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.